Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repair. And today we've got something interesting. So I don't use Temu, but my wife uses Temu, and she had a bunch of extra credits for some stuff that she returned. So she asked me if I wanted anything. So I was browsing on there, and I found this. And what this is basically Temu's version of Greeny. If you're not familiar with Greeny, Greeny is a 1959 Les Paul Standard that was originally acquired by Peter Green for $300, and then he used it for a ton of years, and then it was acquired by Gary Moore. He used it for a ton of years, and then it was acquired by Kurt Hammett. It's one of the most iconic Les Pauls ever made, and Gibson has made a lot of replicas of this. They had a custom shop one that went for a crazy amount of money, and then they made a Gibson standard one that was still crazy money, and then they made an Epiphone version, which was still quite a lot of money. So this one is the Temu version. So I have no idea what to expect. I've never ordered a guitar from these guys before. I'm not even sure if it's going to have a Gibson logo or what the deal is. All the pictures conveniently left out the headstock, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, I paid just over $225 Canadian for this. So let's see what that gets you at Temu. So it came in a proper box. I know a lot of those import knockoffs come in this weird like tape wrapped like triangle box, but this is a proper box, and it's got a model number on it and stuff, so it kind of looks like it's from a legit company. Let's quickly open it here. A bit of an issue of it falling over, but seems to be in one piece here. So it came in this like big box with a big piece of styrofoam on the top, and then it's got molded styrofoam, and it's covered in like that mylar kind of a styrofoam bag. All right, here it is, the $230 Temu Greeny. So, yeah, okay. First impressions, it's actually got a kind of a decent top. There is movement, so it's not like photo frame or anything. It's an actual top, so I don't know if that's like a thin veneer or an actual cap like on a Les Paul, but we'll see. We're going to take this thing all apart and kind of see what it's all made of and how good everything is on it. But aesthetically, they got some things right. They got this kind of wear mark here. There's another wear mark here. And there's no pick guard on Greeny. And this is kind of cool. They actually got the pickup correct. So on Greeny, the neck pickup is actually flipped backwards. So that's cool. They got the knobs sort of right. There's two reflector knobs and then two like non-reflector type knobs. The shape looks decent. Sometimes you get like knockoff Les Pauls that are quite wonky, but this one's not so bad. And the knobs are kind of lined up. And what do we got here? We got like, okay, it's not an ABR1 bridge. It doesn't like go right into the wood, but there's a small receiver there. The bridge looks okay. It doesn't look quite right, but the quality seems decent. And then we've got someone top wrap the tailpiece, which is kind of a cool touch too. It's a satin finish. It's not gloss, which is a difference for sure. But it doesn't feel too bad. And the humbuckers look to be very sloppily aged. Looks like if you see there, you can see someone like wipe some sort of acid compound on there to make it look aged, but it looks pretty bad. The back pickup looks a little bit better. It's got binding. Let's see here. It's got a rosewood fingerboard. And the rosewood fingerboard actually looks not bad. It's got some nice reddish streaks in there. It doesn't have nibs, so like on Gibson you get the fret nibs on the sides. Now I don't know if Greeny had those or not. It's probably been refretted, so I would say not. So I guess it's historically accurate. And the truss rod cover, the font looks way off, but at least it's a 2 screw rather than the 3 on like an Epiphone. And the nut, I could be wrong, but it looks to be bone. So that's a nice little upgrade. Gibsons don't even have bone nuts, so that's cool. The fretwork, there's no sharp frets, so that's something. And let's quickly look down the neck to see if there's any weirdness going on. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but the neck looks straight. There's no twists or warps. I think I noticed one fret might be a little high, but we'll see that. So here's the headstock. So it says Les Paul model on it, but then there's no Gibson logo. So that was the one thing I was kind of worried about, because I don't really like buying fakes, but I don't really mind buying a replica guitar that, you know, doesn't say Gibson on it. Because I think that it's okay to replicate the shape and stuff like that. I mean, lots of guitars do that, but I don't want something that could be potentially mistaken as a Gibson, because then someone could sell it as a Gibson and then someone's getting kind of hurt as a result of that misrepresentation. So I'm not okay with that, but I am okay with like replicas with different branding and different headstocks and that kind of a thing, so that nobody would mistake it for a Gibson. But I think I might have spoke too soon, because this looks, yeah, so this does not look, it's not an inlay, it's a sticker. So you can definitely take it off, and I see something poking behind the sticker. So I think what they've done is, maybe for legal purposes, or if so they can sell on Temu, that they purposely hide the headstock from the pictures, and then when you get it, there's a sticker. But I have a feeling that if I remove this sticker, there's going to be Gibson behind it. Yep. So there you go. You can buy Gibson copies off of Temu. I was kind of thinking that maybe they wouldn't do that for whatever reason. So apparently there is some sort of a reason, because they're covering it with the sticker. But if you get one and take it off, it will say Gibson underneath. So if you're not cool with that, just keep that in mind. But anyway, I'll deal with that later. Right now, let's just have a look at the guitar. So it's got a nice carve on the top. It's decently carved there, and the body thickness looks correct. Let's have a look at the back. There is binding on the top, just like on a Les Paul, and binding on the neck. Just no nibs. The one thing is, you can tell that it's a fake right away, just how stark white the binding is. I've never seen binding like that. Usually it's more of a cream color. Let's look at the back here. Okay, so the back is mahogany. You can kind of tell just by the grain there. And they've modeled it after Greeny's wear pattern on the back. The aging on this guitar does not look great. Like, this does not look very realistic. It looks like they just kind of taped it off weirdly and then didn't finish over that part. There's some sort of sealer on the wood though. And the mahogany actually looks pretty nice. There's a little bit of flame in that mahogany too. And it looks like it's a 3-piece body. I can see the seam lines right away. So there's a seam line here and a seam line here. So it's a 3-piece mahogany body. And let's have a look at the neck. The neck is mahogany as well. And then we've got some replica Grover tuners. They say Grover on there. And then we do have a serial number and a Made in USA. So this serial number actually makes it a 2006, which doesn't even make sense because they didn't make greenies in 2006. And I think they just take some random serial numbers and put them on these things. That's another way you can tell it's fake right away. That's the wrong font. And it's not finished over like on a Gibson. The neck, though, looks like it's good. Oh, it looks like they're hiding a scarf joint here at the heel. You can see there's a line there. So they're grafting on another piece of wood for the neck. So it's not a 1-piece neck, but they do have the scarf at the heel. And there's acrylic trapezoid inlays that look similar to what Gibson might use. Okay, yeah, so overall, it's a little bit nicer than I was expecting, especially in terms of wood. You got a nice maple, at least a veneer, with some decent figuring. The finish feels not bad. It feels like a decent satin. The aging definitely leaves some things to be desired. Doesn't look the best. This is down to the bare wood. It looks like they just like rub some pencil shavings into there or something. And this looks really manufactured. So the aging is bad for sure. But the bass guitar, just the simple quality of like the wood and stuff like that, doesn't look that bad. So it also came decently set up. Like it's got decent action on there. Let's see if it's in tune. Yeah, it's somewhat in tune. And it also looks like there was an attempt to set the intonation. They're all not all just straight lined. So, and let's just have a quick look at the nut. The nut appears to be decently cut. Like we don't have super high action over here. And yeah, I think that is bone too. So yeah, definitely more than what I was expecting, but let's go ahead and get it on the bench and take a deeper look at everything here. Yeah, no idea what they're doing for weight relief in this thing, but it doesn't feel too heavy. So yeah, very decent weight for a Les Paul, weighing in at 7 pounds. 15.2 ounces, or just under 8 pounds. And that's a 3.606 kilograms. So I haven't even plugged in yet, so I don't know if it works, but we are getting a reading here. So on the bridge position, it's reading an 11.43, so pretty hot. And the neck position, an 8.24. And then in the middle, a 4.79. And there was no information about a lot of this guitar. There was just some basic, very basic specs about what kind of wood it was and stuff. So I have no idea what kind of pickups these are. Probably very cheap. I don't want to take off the strings because I want to review everything as I got it. But here's a look at the tailpiece here. Full weight. There's no casting mark. Feels decent. And here's a look at the bridge. So some sort of a version of a Nashville style bridge. There's no retaining wire. And again, it looks like it was, at least an attempt was made to intonate it. And then that's how the bridge is mounted to the body, just using those little receivers. So, and these posts do have an Allen key on the end, so like a hex key adjustment. So if you want to adjust your action on your bridge, you can use an Allen key, which is a nice feature. And we've got an oddly long pickup selector. It's very long. and it feels very cheap. And here's the knobs. They look similar to what they should look like, but they're wrong. Like the font's weird and the reflector part is weird and the color's a bit off. They feel not bad though. So look at our bridge pickup. So it's just got some Chinese symbol on there, or maybe some other language, I'm not sure. But yeah, looks cheap. And there's a better look at the aging, which is just some, looks just some like acid or whatever it is to make the metal react like that was thrown on there. But looking at the maple cap here, it's actually kind of cool. So I can see the grain lining up with some of the ripples on the top. So this is actually a thick maple cap that they use for the top, over top of the mahogany. So that's cool. I mean, that's a pretty expensive little piece of wood. Looks like it's a two-piece too. I can see the seam line go all the way down in the middle, and the grain lines up with the top. So it's not a veneer. It's actually a full maple cap with some decent flame in there. So that was surprising. And then having a look at the route here, looks pretty standard. There's the route they use to connect the wires to the three-way switch. And then let's have a look at the neck pickup. So there it is, same thing. And have a look at the route. Looks like they over-routed here. So there's a big channel there. And it looks like the tenon ends right there. So I'm not really sure what that's for. But the route looks decently clean. And you can see another example of our top there. Looks like there's a big chip out of the wood here in the pickup cavity. But overall, it doesn't look too bad. And just having a better look at the fingerboard here. So yeah, it's actually a nice little piece of rosewood. The grain looks proper for rosewood. And it's got some nice red streaks in there. And the fretwork isn't super polished, but it's not gritty. So a decent amount of work went into the frets. And I checked them all with a fret rocker. There are no high frets. It's actually pretty decent in terms of fretwork. Some of the edges here are a little rough. Again, they're not sharp, but they just look a little, they could have been finished over a little bit better, polished up a little bit nicer. But again, for this price point, I'm not really complaining too much. I could do a little bit more work and clean that up if I wanted, but I just want to do a straight review on this guitar, how it came. Another surprising thing is this is a bone nut. I used my Dremel tool with some sandpaper, and it smelled like burning hair, so it's absolutely bone. And then the Gibson logo here looks like it's inlaid with some sort of mother of pearl like material. And the headstock is satin as well. Here's the truss rod cover. So again, the font's way off, but at least it's a 2-screw. I've seen lots with 3 screws, which is not right. And then the truss cavity here, it looks decent. It looks better than I've seen on a lot of the other ones, but it doesn't have the same truss rod as like a Gibson. Those ones have the nut on the end, and these ones are like Allen key style. So let's see if it turns okay. Yeah, I feel resistance, and turns freely. So the truss rod's decent on this one. Again, the aging looks pretty bad. It looks like someone just like scraped a little spot here and then took lead from a mechanical pencil and rubbed it in. It's kind of what it looks like. Same with here in the edge. Here's a look at the cavity cover. So it's just a single ply plastic cover. It does seem to fit on there quite nicely. Sometimes Gibson has a gap in there sometimes. So here's a look at the electronics. So they're using mini pots. Those are those green import style capacitors. And The wiring looks decent, like clean wise. It's definitely cheap. Mini pots are cheaper than regular size pots for sure. I think they're okay. I don't have a problem with mini pots. They fail more often than regular pots, but pots in general don't fail that often, so you could definitely upgrade the wiring if you wanted. The pickups look cheap, the wiring looks cheap. The route's nice, and you can see that it's actual mahogany, like a big thick piece. It's not like multi-layered pieces or anything else like that, other than the 3-piece body. And here's the pickup selector switch cavity. Nothing too special going on in there, just a standard import style switch and our route there. Again, the aging looks pretty bad. You can feel a ridge there. It's pretty slight, but it looks like the mahogany has been sealed with something. And the overall grain of the mahogany is quite nice. Again, we've got our little bit of a seam line there for the scarf. And the rest of the neck appears to be one piece. There's no other scarf up here like you see sometimes, and there's no wings on the neck that you see on Gibsons either. The neck profile feels pretty chunky, which I like. And the satin finish on the neck feels pretty good. Feels like a higher quality satin sort of finish. And the Grover tuners, I don't know, they feel okay. They don't feel loose or sloppy or slipping or anything. But they're obviously not real Grovers. And then our serial number, which is like laser engraved or something like that into the back. Gibson's is typically stamped, and they have the finish over top of the serial number. This one has no finish. It looks a little bit better than some I've seen. Some are like stark white, and that makes it really easy to tell that it's a fake. This one, it looks like they've rubbed something in there, so it darkens it a little bit, so it's not quite as apparent, but it's pretty easy to tell just by looking at the serial number. So yeah, quite a bit better than what I was expecting. The bones seem decent, like the fretwork is good, the wood seems decent. I was really surprised by the full maple flame top. That's kind of cool. The rosewood fingerboard looked okay. There wasn't any sharp frets or anything weird going on. So let's get some neck specs, then I'm going to put everything back together and we can check the setup, make sure it's playing okay, and then plug it in, see how it sounds. Just grab some quick neck specs here. So width at the nut, it's about a 1.66, and at the 12th fret, that's a 2.04. Neck depth at the first fret is a 0.95, so quite thick, and at the 12th fret, a 0.97. Here's a look at the neck profile. So yeah, just a very rounded C, and it stays rounded by the 12th fret. It feels like a 50s style neck. A little narrower than most, but nice and chunky. It feels pretty decent. As for the setup, I'm not going to change anything. I just put it back together the same way it came out of the box, and we can judge it on its own setup. So let's check the relief in the neck. So you can see with my straight edge here that there is very little to no relief in the neck. It's not overbowed by any means, but it could stand to maybe have a little bit more relief put in, because there's like nothing in it right now. And then here at the 3rd fret, using the 3rd fret, you can see that the string is almost sitting right on the 1st fret when I use the 3rd fret. So that shows that there's no relief in the neck, but it also shows that this is a well cut nut, and we've got nice low action over here. So that's a very decently cut bone nut, which is nice. Surprising at this price point, to say the least. And then our action here at the 12th fret, using my depth gauge, we can see that it's just over a 1 at the low E, and at the high E just over a 1 as well. So it actually shipped with very nice low action. which is nice. I usually find that the action on even factory guitars, when they ship it, it's quite a bit higher. So I'm just going to go over the fingerboard here to make sure there's no buzzing or fretting out anywhere. I like to speed up this part, but if you want to hear it in real time, just slow down your player to 25%. So it played really nice with no buzzing or fretting out anywhere, except for two little spots here on the 12th fret on the D string, getting a bit of sizzle. Now, whether you would hear that through an amp or not, I don't know. It's just on the verge of being a problem. Same on the G string. If you fret properly, it's not a big deal, but it's there. Again, you could probably just raise the action at the bridge a little bit and it would go away. But this is just how it was shipped. So I would say the setup is pretty much like an 8 out of 10. It plays where I like it, and you could probably adjust it higher and then the problems would go away. I find the frets a little bit gritty. Like, not so bad. I've actually had Epiphones that were worse than this. But just not quite as nicely polished as like a Gibson. But again, at this price point, what do you expect? But yeah, I tried it on a strap. It's got no neck dive. Stays where it's supposed to be really nicely, even though it's a little bit lighter. And I do like the neck profile. It reminds me of a nice 50s neck profile. Nice rounded C. It rings out nicely acoustically as well. And it's got decent sustain. It's still ringing out. And it doesn't vibrate as much as some other guitars, but you can still feel it. Yeah, so far I'm impressed by the quality. The biggest flaw I've seen so far is the electronics. So let's go ahead and plug it in and see what those sound like. Alright, I'm plugged into my 1965 Fender Bassman, which I find is a very honest amp. So if you plug a guitar in that sounds bad, it's going to sound bad. I'm just going to go through the guitar clean and then with a little bit of dirt. I'm using a Barefoot Effects Honeybee distortion pedal for the dirt, and then a Flint Strymon for a little bit of reverb. I'm miking up the 212 cab with an SM57, and I have an Audio-Technica AT2020 condenser for the room. So yeah, it sounded a lot better than I thought it would. Clean, pretty usable tones in every position. So let's try it with a little bit of distortion. So yeah, it sounded better than expecting, dirty for sure. I think part of it is that these pickups are a little bit microphonic, just a little bit though. So kind of like the Gibson custom buckers, they give that little bit of extra character, which is nice. And they're not fully microphonic, but you can definitely, they're not bad by any means. They're kind of interesting actually. So pleasantly surprised with the sound for sure. All right, final thoughts on the $225 Temu Greeny. I'm a little conflicted on this one because I don't like copies. I don't think that's cool, putting the Gibson logo on something that could trick someone to buy it. But I do like this guitar. I just wish that someone could make these and just put a different brand name on the headstock or something like that. So that way, you know, your brand would have merit. People would like it, like your quality, like your guitars, and not just associate it with a copy. But as a guitar, it's solid. It's made of, you know, decent materials. It's got a nice mahogany body. It's 3-piece, but the mahogany seems to be very decent wood. And it's got a full maple cap on there. It's thick. It's flame maple, so that's definitely wasn't expecting that. And the neck on it feels really nice. It's a nice thick chunky C neck, which I like. It appears to have a pretty high quality satin finish. The neck feels really good to play, like slide up and down. The fretwork was decent. There's a couple spots that need a little bit of attention. Again, I could have raised the action and probably would have went away. Or you could do a partial fret level on this. And the sides, like the edges are a little rough here. I don't know if I can capture that on camera, but they're not quite as polished as you would like. They're not sharp, but they're just a little gritty. The frets themselves are a little bit gritty too, but again, no worse than an Epiphone, I would say. The weight was nice, just under 8 pounds. I'm not really sure how they weight relieve these or if they do at all. I didn't see any chambering, so it might just be the standard 9-hole weight relief or whatever else they're doing underneath the maple cap. The bone nut was surprising. It was well cut too, so that's a that's a premium feature on guitars. I definitely wasn't expecting that for this price point, and it sounded quite decent. It had that kind of unpotted, humbucker character to it. It wasn't like super microphonic, but there was just enough there to give it character, which is what Gibson does on like the custom buckers. They're not wax potted, so they do have that a little bit of microphonic quality to them. I found the guitar went out of tune quite more often than I'm used to, especially the A or the E and the G string. Now it just might be these super cheap strings on here. The strings on here feel not great. They don't feel like super slinkies or anything else like that. They're just probably cheap Chinese strings, so that might have something to do with it. The tuners themselves felt good. They felt nice and tight. I didn't feel them slipping at all. So these just might be weird strings. It sounded good clean. It sounded good dirty. What I would do to this guitar would probably be change the strings, give it a setup. I would, give a little bit of fretwork to make it perfect because it's almost there. Just needs a little bit extra, and it would be very nice. I would actually leave the pickups alone because they sound quite decent for sure. You could always upgrade them if you wanted to. It's pretty easy to do so. And then the electronics were pretty cheap too. They had those little mini pots, just cheap stuff. But again, it's not that much just to upgrade that to full-size pots. You can change the knobs, although they're fine. They don't look quite correct. And then our pickup switch is an import too with a super long knob. That's something else you could change. But as a modding platform, this has really nice bones. Like the wood's good, the construction is solid. It's got a lot of good things going for it. It just needs a little bit of extra to really elevate it. But yeah, for $230, it's a crazy good guitar for that price for sure. I just don't agree with the Gibson logo being on there. Again, what I like to do with if I get a fake guitar, and I've had a couple over the years, usually it's from clients who I've done a repair for and they're having trouble coming up with the money. Sometimes they'll offer other guitars and stuff as collateral, and I always find these kind of neat. I always want to try them out and see if they're any good or not. But what I usually do is similar to what Phil McKnight does. I've got a brander there, so I usually brand fake into the back of the headstock. That way, you can enjoy it for what it is, but there's not going to be any risk of someone trying to pass this off as a real Gibson down the line and, deceiving someone in that way. But yeah, crazy guitar for the price. And whether or not you want to get one yourself, I'll leave that up to you. But thank you for tuning into Beckler Guitars and Repair, and I'll have more for you really soon. Thanks a lot.